students. Welcome to our first writers workshop of the semester. What I do in this workshop, usually I do it in person, but is to basically go over the paper and try to break it down for really what you should focus on paragraph by paragraph. It's always my intention that by doing this, that when you finish this workshop, that you will be much more comfortable in writing the paper, that you'll really have a good starting point, and I'm hoping just going through this process will help you to generate what ideas you are going to work with in your own paper. So normally I do this in person, and normally there's a lot of interaction with the class, and I'm getting ideas from you, and we're working together on this. So in this video format, we're more limited in what we can do in that regard, but I'm going to try my best to make it fun. So, and I'm really excited about it. So here we go. So first of all, you want to read over the prompt and just make sure that you read over the prompt really carefully, because I've given some pretty specific instructions in the prompt, and also given you some thesis statement examples for a variety of different scenarios that I think can be very helpful. But basically, again, this topic is your best or worst meal. So either like your favorite meal that you can remember, or you may have had multiple favorites or multiple times that it was a bad meal or whatever, but you choose one. What you don't want to do is go through a series of different meals and every paragraph gets a different meal. Don't do that. You need to center on one experience for the paper, one meal. So choose one. I suggest doing like a brainstorm where you're going to like list some different ideas that you have. And in chapter 1 in Steps to Writing Well in the textbook, there are a variety of different brainstorming methods which we did not go over this semester, but you can still use that. So if you're not used to brainstorming methods, they go into that in great detail in that chapter. That you can, make a list. You could do the little bubbles. That's very user friendly. And there are some that you may not be familiar with that can kind of free your mind up to generate your ideas. So do think about what your best or worst meal is, and think about things like who you were with. Were you in a restaurant? Were you at somebody's house? Were you on your own? And I gave some samples for that. Were you, where were you? What made it so good or so bad? There, as I said in the prompt, there are as many different scenarios as there are people. So just kind of, do a brainstorm is what I would start off with to figure out what meal you want to really focus on. And, and again, try to think of why it was so good or so bad. And so try to narrow it down to what was the meal, who were you with, if anyone. It might be, one that you were on your own and it was very memorable. Also, what did you learn from this? Like this, so you might think, I didn't really learn anything. It was my favorite, or it was not my favorite. But if you can focus on what you learned, that will help you think of your idea for your thesis. So I went over in the last video about your thesis. It is your topic plus your idea about your topic. For a narrative essay, there's an additional way to think about this. So I'm going to write that down again, just to kind of keep our focus. You can see that. I'm going to write with a darker pen, because I think that might be hard to see on the camera. All right, so we've got, I hope you can see that one. Okay, so thesis equals topic plus idea. That can also be opinion, right, about the topic, right? So remember I said that before in the last video. Your thesis, you can even think of this as a mathematical formula, that your thesis equals your topic plus your idea about your topic. So your favorite meal, whether it was good or bad, that's your topic, right? Your idea about your topic. For a narrative essay, the idea can be what you learned. So for example, if you think in a narrative essay thesis, and I'm going to put narrative here, This is, again, a narrative essay. It's kind of like where you tell an aspect of your own story, um, focused on this particular topic. I don't mean your story like I was born on this day, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. That would be awesome, and I hope we get to read your memoir one day. But this is not exactly that. It's just your story on this topic. Okay. All right. So thesis for a narrative essay could be, if you could answer these questions: what did I do? What specifically did I do? And next, what did I learn? What did I do, and what did I learn? Oh, my easel is like falling apart here. Okay. All right. So what did I do, and what did I learn from what I did? So for example, in this case with this topic, what did I do? I experienced my worst meal ever. What did I learn from that? It might be that you learned, I gave some different ideas as examples in the prompt, or it might be that I learned that I'm, allergic to shellfish or something like that. Or I learned that whenever my cousin asks me over for dinner, I should go, right? Because it's going to be, a great experience. Or I learned that family is more important than how the food tastes. Whatever, right? If you can think of what you learned from this experience, that will very often give you an idea to work with in the thesis. So think about that. If you're thinking, I don't know what I learned, then you can think of it in a different way. Here's what I did. I had this meal, right? And it was good or bad. And then what do I now think about that? What do I think about it? So, and again, in the prompt, there are several different examples about a variety of different experiences that you could look at and just kind of use as an example. You can't use those because they're not your original ideas, and your thesis has to be your original idea, but they should give you something to work with as an example. All right. So going with that, so in the intro, the other thing that in the intro, you should give some background. So before we get into the nitty gritty of this, I'm hoping this works without that back that fell off, right? But all right, so in the intro, give some background, okay? Give background. Often this could be the backstory, all right? So this is, you're giving some background about how you came to be eating this meal in this place with these folks or whatever, right? Just give a little of the backstory, because remember, you have experienced this, but your reader has not. They were not with you, so you need to catch them up a little bit. It's kind of like they're in your driveway and you're in the house. You need to get them from the driveway to the house in a way that is not too jarring. So they can't just grab a pogo stick or something and jump, all the way from the driveway to the house, right? That looks so weird on the video. But anyway, okay, I'm hoping everybody's awake. That was to wake you up. All right, so instead you have to lead them, right? You got to take their hand. Well, we can't do that in COVID, right? But pre-COVID, we could take somebody's hand and lead them, right, to the driveway. So that's what you're doing in your intro. You are leading the reader to your main point. You're leading them to your idea, but you have to give them that background. It doesn't mean that you need to write 2 pages of background. Again, I was born, and no, that's too much, right? But a few sentences, yes, right? So do give them that background, and then you're going. So I'm going to say the background is often 2 to 3 sentences, right? That's the background. Then you are going to transition to your thesis. I'll explain again that in a minute, and then you need that thesis. So transitioning to the thesis, meaning that I've given my background, and now I'm going to start explaining my idea, explaining my thesis before I get there, so it doesn't feel like alarming to your reader, like, what? I didn't know we were going there. Okay, right? It shouldn't feel like that. It shouldn't feel like a total shock to them. It should feel, again, like they're being led. All right, so that's why you need a transition sentence to do that. This is your explanation, connecting your background and your thesis. All right, so that's about a sentence or two. Then you need the thesis. The thesis statement is always one sentence. I believe I mentioned in the last video, but I will mention it now in case I didn't, or just to re-emphasize that essay writing, every paragraph you need layers. And in those layers, you have to have some very specific things in those layers. So I call this layering process English lasagna. Like you are making lasagna and you need those layers. You need to keep layering. You've got your noodles, you've got your cheese. I like to put some spinach in there, right? So we've got the that layer, etc. All the stuff that you would put in there. Every layer is very important, right? So the same thing with essay writing. You need to get all of the layers in. So for example, our background, we got to get the background layer. That's about 2 to 3 sentences. Then we need our transition layer. Again, that's explanation, connecting your background, explaining your thesis before you get there. And then next we need the thesis statement. That's that layer. Okay, so this is just for the intro. All right, so then the other thing that you're going to need in this essay are body paragraphs. Every body paragraph, again, needs that topic sentence. That's going to be your idea sentence, your main idea, your reason. I like to think of it often as a reason that you, like, think what you think in your thesis. So it can be a reason that you loved this meal or a reason you hated this meal, right? It's that reason can turn into that topic sentence. Then you will explain and then give your example, etc. Okay, and then you'll move on to your conclusion. So I'm gonna, instead of going through the all at once, we're gonna break it down. I want to start with the intro and explain the layers for the intro because that is the first paragraph that you're going to start with. All right, so let's break this down a little bit more for the topic. So with your real paper, you will be, of course, writing about your experience, and you'll do, as I suggested at least, do a brainstorm to, get your ideas down and then choose and narrow it down so you'll know what you should focus on. I highly suggest doing that rather than just waiting to be inspired, like midnight the night before. Here it comes. What am I going to write about? I mean, you could do, maybe that works too. I don't know. I used to do that method though, and I was really stressed out when the inspiration didn't come. So I think it's a little more proactive to have a plan. All right, but do what works for you. Okay, so here we go. This is what we're going to do. So I am going to invent a fictional scenario, a fictional meal, like as if we grabbed a student, if we were at the school and we grabbed a student from the hallway and said, what's your best or worst meal? And we asked them about that and maybe some things that they would tell us. And again, I wish I could get your ideas in person, but I've developed a little bit of a plan for that. So we're going to try that out to make it as fun as I can. All right, so first of all, the first thing to think about is first choice that you're going to be going with is, was the meal good or was it bad? Now, if it was kind of ho-hum, somewhere in the middle, you can work with that, but then you need a specific idea about that. That maybe the meal was kind of lackluster, but that the people were so wonderful that it was your best meal. Or maybe the food was kind of so-so, but it was such a terrible experience. The food was good, but it was still a bad experience because everybody was stressed out or something. Again, there are a lot of variations But basically, you should kind of know if it was good or bad. All right. This is how we're going to break this down right now. I would have us vote if we were in person, but we can't do that right now. So I'm going to roll the dice. Actually, it's a die. I have one. So we're going to run. So I'm going to have, if I roll a 1, it's going to be good that we're going to work with. You get to work with good or bad for yourself. And if I roll a 2, it's going to be a bad one that we are working with. All right, here we go. And if I roll another number, I have to roll again. Okay, it's a 2. So we're going to go with a bad meal. We're going to say that this was our worst meal ever. All right, so again, this is just fictional so that it gives you a model and example. And when you work with your own, you will choose your real experience. Okay, so I'm not saying that you have to write about a bad meal. No, you write about what is the right, right choice for you that really happened. Okay, all right. So now we know we're writing about a bad meal, and now who were we with? So I have some different choices here that we're gonna write down. Who were we with? We might be with. Let's see. We might be with family. Number 1, I put family. Number 2, I put friends. Number 3, I'm going to put strangers. Like, I don't know, maybe you were somewhere like at an airport or something, and for some reason you started talking to people around you, and it ended up being your best meal ever. Who knows, right? So I'm putting strangers down, and I am going to put pets down. Maybe that's who you are with, some furry people, right? All right, pets. And then I'm going to put family, friends. Okay, so, self. You were just on your own, and it turned out to be your best or worst meal ever. And 6, I'm going to put like coworkers. Maybe it was people from somewhere you might work, something like that. Or I'll put down. Oh, I only have 6 on this. I only have the 1 die. So, all right, we'll leave it at that. So again, we're gonna roll the dice and find out who was with us, if anyone, in this bad meal that we had. So either our family, our friends, strangers, pets, ourselves, maybe some coworkers. So again, you'll go through your own process of discovery, but this is just for fun to narrow down the topic. And here we go. Here's our die. It was number 6. So that was, we were with coworkers. Our worst meal ever. We're with our coworkers. Now we're going to choose something else. Were we in a restaurant? Where were we? So since it's work, I'll put 1. We were at work for some reason. Number 2, we were in a restaurant. Number 3, we were outside, like it was a picnic or something. Number 4, we were at our own home, like for some reason we invited the coworkers over. 5, I'm going to put coworkers home. And 6, the boss's home. Okay, we're going to roll the dice. We're going to figure out where we were when this meal took place. Were we at work? Because it was our coworkers. Were we at a restaurant? Were we outside? Were we home? Were we at our coworkers' home? Or were we at our boss's home? Okay, so I'm going to roll the dice. 1 through 6 are our choices. And we've got 4 this time wins. We were at our own home. So for whatever reason, we had our coworkers or some coworkers to our house. And we had them over for a meal, and it was bad. It was really bad. So that is my way of narrowing it down, because again, for this example, we're going to make this up. All right, next thing that we need to know, what was bad about it? We're going to say, was the food bad? Was it something to do with the people? Like that they were all in bad moods, they're stressed out, they didn't get along with each other or something, right? Was there some kind of operational issue? Like, I'm going to say, like if it was hot, the air conditioning broke, and I don't know, something operational, right? Something, the refrigerator quit working, the oven quit working, something operational. Food is bad, problem with the people, problem with some kind of operational issue. That's all I can think of right now. But that's so let's try that out. We'll just be three, so it'll be 1, 2, or 3. If it's 4, 5, or 6, I will roll again. All right. So here we go. Rolling the dice. Whoops, that fell on the floor. So I'm gonna try it again. It's a 2. It's the people. Okay, so now we know that in this case our meal was not, it was bad. It was bad where it's with our coworkers, it's in our house. And the problem was with the people, not the food. So was it that they didn't get along? Let's say that. Let's say that there were people that did not get along, and that's what made this so problematic. All right, so we've got our stage, and again, if it were your real paper, you would just do a brainstorm and think of which situation you want to work with. Is it good? Is it bad? Where did it take place? Who was I with, if anyone? And why was it so good or bad? All right, and that will help you to develop your intro. So again, I think I believe I mentioned this on the last video, but if you are used to doing a formal outline with the Roman numerals, that's a great method. And in chapter 3, they give some examples of that in Steps to Writing Well, so you could look at that or review it. And it's a great method. For some reason, I did learn how to do that when I was in school. For some reason, it really stressed me out. I even really like Roman numerals. I think they're fun. But seeing all those Roman numerals, and they looked really official, and it would totally stress me out after I had to turn in that official outline. And then I would take that outline piece of paper, right, and I would go, oh, like, I was really tired now. Maybe I can, like, do that later. That looks very intimidating, right? I don't know why. It didn't really help me much. It was stressing me out a lot. So what I did is I did something different that was essentially the same thing, but it felt a little more empowering for me, and I call it a plan of attack. And so what my plan of attack is that basically the way I personally do it is I write my intro first. I feel like if I can write the intro, then I know where this is going. I have like an idea about that, and then I'll have my intro and thesis. So this is, I'll just write this down. So plan of attack. My plan of attack is I personally write the intro first and the thesis. And again, this is, as I mentioned in the last video, a working thesis, meaning it's a work in progress. If it doesn't work, write something else before you turn it in, right? After I do that, I come up with my 3 reasons. I don't know if you can see that. My writing's going downhill. The 3 reasons turn into the topic sentences. If I can think of it, I give 3 examples to go with those reasons. And then my conclusion I write at the end. That's just how I do it. So again, you can modify, you can do it the formal outline way. Again, there's great examples of that in the book, chapter 3. Or you can try this, right? Or I've also done where if the intro wasn't coming to me, I just kind of wrote my ideas down about what I wanted to do, and I kind of wrote my thesis of where this was going, just kind of basic, not even maybe a full sentence, and then thought of my reasons and examples. You could do it that way too. The other thing to keep in mind is sometimes maybe you can't think of the 3rd reason. Not the end of the world. Don't sit there going, reason 3, I can't do this. No, just set it aside and think, okay, fine, it'll come to me. I'm going to roll with what I got here too. So this is to empower you, not to stress you out, really. So so that's what I call my plan of attack. All right, so next we're going to go over, I'm going to write a model for this introduction with this scenario, and I'll go over that, and we'll look at the thesis, and we'll talk about how to develop some topic sentence that would support that thesis.